Hey kitties, it's Triple Feature Tuesday once again, and this week we're going to look at comic book movies that change just about everything, but still got it right. The girl you want. That's right. Adaptation is a tricky thing. As we've seen from examples like Sin City or Watchmen, straight direct translation of a comic book from one medium to another, it's not always the best thing. I mean, you get the point across, but it's not really taking full advantage of the movie medium. So you have to change things, and you have to change things to make it palatable, not only to just a movie sensibility, but to movie-going audiences who may not necessarily be interested in the comic book. So we're going to look at 3 movies that changed an awful lot from the source material, but actually managed to hold on to the actual core feeling, vibe, for lack of a better word, of the character or the source material. And despite the fact that most people disagree with me about it, because, you know, once again, my video series, I can do whatever I want. So our menu is going to include Constantine, Tank Girl, and The Mask. Oh my god, it's so horrible. They made him American, and they made him Keanu Reeves, and they don't even get what was so cool about the broody English guy that does magic all the time. Here's the thing. I mean, yes, they did pick probably the polar opposite of what John Constantine is supposed to look like. You can see him there. He's a blonde-haired, Liverpudlian jerk. Originally created by Alan Moore and Stephen Bissette for Swamp Thing. Alan Moore asked Stephen Bissette, what would you like to draw in our Swamp Thing book? And Stephen Bissette, this being the 80s, said Sting. He wanted to draw Sting. So they created a character that was physically based on Sting and was a magician/con artist. The Keanu Reeves movie is a loose adaptation of this story arc, Dangerous Habits by Garth Ennis, in which John Constantine gets cancer. He's an American, Keanu Reeves, set in America. Everybody hates this. But here's the thing. They actually got the character more right than not. Yes, I tend to look at this movie as an Elseworlds in which John Constantine is a superhero. But if you look at the motivations for John Constantine in the Keanu film, they're very consistent with who he is in the comics, which is he is a complete self-serving, opportunistic piece of shit. I mean, he's just a terrible human being, and he only does things that may benefit other people if 1, they benefit him first, and 2, his back is directly up against the wall. And that's actually in this movie. Sure, you see him bravely exorcising demons from little girls, but 10 minutes later he's meeting with the Archangel Gabriel and just flat out saying, I'm only doing it to get into heaven, because I don't want to go to hell. That's it. He doesn't care about people. And it's only when just absolute craziness comes into his door that he begrudgingly helps Rachel Weisz. And this is important because that's who John Constantine is. He's smarter than you. He's clever. He's a con man. And he doesn't care about pretty much anybody. I mean, an argument could be made for Chaz and Kit, and maybe Brendan. But even in Dangerous Habits, when he saves Brendan from being collected by the devil in the comic book, it's partly to help Brendan, but it's mainly because he's drunk and he's angry at the devil and just wants to screw him out of something. That's in the Keanu Reeves movie. And one of the things, another one of the things they get right is that Constantine in the movie doesn't use a hell of a lot of magic. You look at the TV show that's on right now, and I'm completely honest, I'm not a fan of it at all. I think at best they're trying to do the New 52 John Constantine, which is also, why would you do the New 52 Constantine? You have a chance to do something new on television, bad guy as your protagonist but with magic. And since with shows like Hannibal and Breaking Bad and Sons of Anarchy, there's a lot of opportunity to be had there. And he's just this namby-pamby, whiny guy. But he's always using magic and always doing like little sigils and magic spells, and that drives me up the walls. In the Keanu Reeves movie, he rarely uses magic, and it's always as a last resort. Sure, he does an exorcism. That's not magic. He uses a few relics to disperse or get rid of demons, and he does the whole going into hell thing. But like the real honest to goodness only spell he uses in the movie is when he's doing the sigil magic with bringing unseen things into light. And that's because John Constantine in the comic books knows the price of magic, and so he never uses it unless he has to. His magic is really being able to talk people into doing whatever he wants. And, usually getting them killed, which this movie, despite everybody complaining about how not accurate it is, every single one of John Constantine's friends dies. The priest dies. The bowling alley guy dies. Chaz dies, which, any excuse to watch Shia LaBeouf suffer. And he is angry about it, but at the same time, not even remotely concerned about putting them in harm's way. Right in the very beginning, when the priest, who's somewhat psychic, this is an avenue for him to get information. So he takes away the guy's talisman and tells him, no, go do the thing, because I need you to, and I'll be your best buddy. But he really doesn't care. He just wants to use people, and that was all throughout the Keanu Reeves movie, and that is why I will continue to respect it. Created by Jamie Hewlett, one half of the Gorillaz, and Alan Martin in the early 90s, the comic is an anarchic mess of just absolute absurdity. I mean, it's just so much fun. It's about the titular tank girl who is going around, presumably Australia, or maybe England. I mean, we only assume Australia because there are all the kangaroo men, one of which is Tank Girl's boyfriend, Booga. And she's just going around, causing havoc, getting into trouble, and having a good time. Enter the Tank Girl film by Rachel, directed and I think co-written by Rachel Talalay, who was a longtime producer at New Line, worked on just about all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, so we really, really like her. And she wanted to make the ultimate girl movie. That's with 2 R's. I can't speak to that, but I can speak to a very, very entertaining adaptation of a crazy comic, because they made an equally crazy movie. And it was a crazy movie because most critics hated it, and everybody that liked Tank Girl liked it. Except for Jamie Hewlett and Alan Martin. They really didn't disagree with the whole thing. But I don't understand why. The comic is utter insanity put on a page. The movie is utter insanity put on film, starring Lori Petty in... I mean, don't get me wrong, I love A League of Their Own as well, but this was the high watermark. Her performance as Tank Girl is one of the greatest things I've ever seen, because she's bonkers, but she's directing all the bonkers towards the great performance. And it also features a pre-Fame and Fortune Naomi Watts as Jet Girl. Subgirl actually does make an appearance. She's supposed to be the crazy woman with the fish that they Jet and Tank get information about, where Samantha is being held. Okay, so big change was they gave it a plot. Traditionally, the Tank Girl issues, while there would be multiple issue story arcs, it was just random ideas, and now Tank Girl's doing this, and now Tank Girl's doing this. In the movie, they gave Tank Girl a bad guy, Malcolm McDowell, which, if you're going to shoehorn in a bad guy, Cyborg Malcolm McDowell, come on. And they actually sat down and decided, okay, the Ripper, the kangaroo men are called Rippers, and they are genetically altered kangaroos designed to be soldiers. So we made them that for that reason. But Booga is still Booga. Okay, he's maybe a bit dimmer than the comic book version of Booga, but, it works. They're still, heavily implied kangaroo woman, white woman sex. And two of them One of them in the background is being played by Doug Jones, and that's great. And Jeff Kober, who you've seen in every other thing on television, plays Booga, but you wouldn't know it. But like the big winners are Reggie Cathy as our Jack Kerouac reincarnated Kangaroo Man, and of course Ice-T as a kangaroo, because why the hell not? So they gave it a bad guy, they gave it a plot, and this apparently was very, very bad in creator Jamie Hewlett and Alan Martin's eyes. I don't understand why. I think everything about this movie is fun. I love the mixed media. They're cutting to cartoons or cutting to comic book panels. I love the fact that there's a musical number right in the middle of the movie. And also Iggy Pop being a pervert. So, I mean, all this stuff is being thrown at you just like the way things were thrown at you in the comic. Look at this kind of art and tell me this was not what was presented in the movie. Unless you're Alan Martin and Jamie Hewlett, and yes, you're allowed to tell me that because, you know, you guys would know. But come on, enjoy the movie for what it is, which is sort of the moral for all the discussion of all of these movies. Alan Moore in a interview was quoting some other author who was being asked, what did he think about what they did to his books in reference to a movie adaptation? And the author, according to Alan Moore, got up from his chair, went and pulled his book off of the shelf, flipped through it. What did they do to my book? It's right here. It's fine. The book is fine. The movie is fun. So let's just have more fun. And there are a few things more fun than The Mask. Now, if you gotta see here. We've been going in order of how much they've actually changed. See, Hellblazer, they made John Constantine a little bit more proactive, but he's still giving the finger to the devil when he gets saved. So that's still John Constantine to me, and he's running around getting mixed up in occult activities. So this screams Hellblazer. Tank Girl is Tank Girl. She just is. The Mask was a hyper-violent 90s cartoon, and you can also see the Mask pretending to be an old lady with a rocket launcher. Featuring Stanley Ipkiss at first as the titular Mask, going around, that's him killing police officers there, and just being a jerk. He gets the Mask and immediately starts murdering all of the people that have ever wronged him. So, movie, we turn it into a lighthearted family kids movie. Stanley Ipkiss, played by Jim Carrey, is wronged by all sorts of people, gets the Mask, and gets revenge, but as a cartoon character. And the thing of it is, while the gore level has been changed completely, the overall tone and spirit of getting superpowers and having revenge on whoever you want with borderline impunity is there. Like, they even have direct lifts. Like, they have the whole balloon animal and the Tommy gun, but in the comic, much grimmer end. The Mask, I should have said, Dark Horse comic, created by John Arcudi and Doug Mankey. Just a lot of fun and really, really disgusting. It was fun for me because when I saw the preview for The Mask, I was like, let me find out more about this. And then 12-year-old me went and read the comic and was like, oh my god, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. And, it wasn't the comic, but it was brilliant and it was crazy and the special effects, and it's just funny. And, I mean, it's Jim Carrey back in his prime. I miss Jim. I miss early 90s Jim Carrey so much. I mean, I know they made the Dumb and Dumber movie, but I'm afraid to see it for fear that it would, retroactively ruin Dumb and Dumber, much like the Star Wars prequels did for Star Wars. But the thing to keep in mind about all of these movies, and any movie based on a comic book or just any other thing from another medium, like a regular book or radio player, whatever, the first question is always, is it a good movie? And then, is it a good adaptation? These are definitely all good movies. We can quibble over how good of an adaptation they are as a direct story adaptation of these comic books. You're right. they could have been better, but as a character and tone adaptation of these comic books, I think the all three of these movies were very, very clever and got the point every time. So this has been comic book movies that changed everything, but still got it right. Constantine, Tank Girl, and The Mask. And I'll see you guys next week for the beginning of Black Awesomeness Month. Yes.